Leader Eric Cantor. You mentioned the Affordable Care Act. Let's merge that with the debt ceiling. There have been some in the conservative movement who have said that there should be an effort to tie to the increase in the debt ceiling a removal of the reinsurance corridors in Obamacare. That's essentially a fee placed on insurance companies to essentially help them through if the risk pool is inadequately arranged for them, meaning they sort of shield themselves from the economic effects of the health care law. Is that something House Republicans are going to do? Or will you present a clean debt ceiling increase to move this issue off the table?
Well, let's talk about the Affordable Care Act first, and then in juxtaposition with the debt ceiling. First of all, the Affordable Care Act, I think most of the public has now seen what we've been talking about. This law is a disaster. In my opinion, Obamacare is on borrowed time. Policies are being canceled, prices are going up, access to hospitals and doctors are being limited.
Not for everybody. You would concede that point.
For many folks, especially those in the individual market. And as we begin to see the further growth in terms of implementation of this law, you will see, I believe, more and more people negatively affected. And there's going to be a real problem, a real need for an alternative. And
where's that going to come from, and when are you going to draft it?
Well, that's what we talked about today, this weekend, this week at our retreat. I believe firmly that we will have a vote on an alternative for a healthcare system that works for people. Well, I believe that we'll have it this year. We will have it this year. And you know what the reason is, Major, is Obamacare, I believe, is on borrowed time.
So no more repeal votes, an alternative vote.
We will certainly, Obamacare, I think, again, is on borrowed time. It's not working. And we want a health care system that works for all Americans. And in fact, we had a proposal, and the President continues to say that we didn't have solutions. We put a solution forward in 2009 when Obamacare was passed. Many of the provisions in that proposal will be in our proposal going forward. We're going to deal...
Who's leading up that effort? And when will we see it?
Listen, well, first of all, let me talk about what's in it, because, we are going to deal with those pre-existing conditions. We don't want them to go without coverage. We just deal with it in a way and provide high-risk pools so that we can limit the increase in costs for everybody else and do it in a much more cost-effective manner. We say folks ought to have choice of their insurance companies. Let them purchase across state lines. Help bring down prices. And then we say, we ought to have patient-centered care, not care dictated by Washington, which is why we want to promote health savings accounts. These are the kinds of things that are in our proposals.
Who will lead it up, and when will we see it?
Well, there was a lot of discussion, and there is a consensus about Republican solutions for a health care system that works for everybody, which includes those without a job, which includes those who are sick. And I believe that our committee chairman, the Ways and Means chairman, Dave Camp, the Energy and Commerce Committee chairman, Fred Upton, as well as the Education and Workforce chairman, John Klein, are all working on different elements of this that I believe will turn into an alternative for Obamacare.
Timeline?
Well, look, it is obviously very important for us to get this done, because a lot of people are hurting because of Obamacare.
What about debt ceiling? Will that be clean, or will you attach things such as the insurance bailout, as it is called by some in your conservative movement?
Here's what I'm thinking now. I think that the last month has seen Washington actually make some progress in getting along and getting things done. You know that the Paul Ryan, Patty Murray budget deal manifested into the budget vote, the spending bill that was passed a couple of weeks ago. And I think that did reflect the reality. We've got two very, very different views of how to go forward fiscally, but yet small steps forward toward reducing spending. I'm hopeful that attitude can actually...
Even though that added spending in the short term.
Well, over the 10-year budget, when it reduced deficit, and what it did, it replaced some of the discretionary cuts, the kinds of across-the-board cuts that don't make sense.
And what does that tell us about the budget, the debt ceiling?
Well, what I'm saying is I think that attitude, we should be able to work together yet again to try and do something to move the needle towards fiscal reform, to move the needle towards reduction in spending while we continue to incur more debt.
Yes, but what... The question is, will that be a clean debt ceiling or not?
What I believe is we can work something out, and I'm hopeful that the President and the Senate will work with us in the House to actually do what has typically been done with debt ceilings, which is making some progress towards addressing the spending problem in Washington, making some progress toward trying to grow the economy around a debt ceiling. That's the way it's been done for the last 3 decades, and this president has just consistently said he doesn't want to even engage and is like ignoring the problem. So I'm hopeful that those days are gone and we can actually work together around this debt ceiling.
There'll be no default, in other words.
I'm confident there'll be no default.
All right. Before I get on to a Super Bowl question, in the Weekly Standard about this issue, because it plays with immigration and Obamacare. Bringing immigration to the floor ensures a circular GOP firing squad instead of a nicely lined up one shooting together in unison at Obamacare and other horrors of big government liberalism. Your reaction?
Yeah, I don't think there's any question that Obamacare is going to play prominently this year. It will obviously, I think, inure to the Republicans' benefits at the end of the year at election time. So, yes, we'll be discussing people's health care because people are hurting. We're going to discuss a lot of issues, Major. We're going to be discussing immigration. We're going to be dealing with the big issues of the squeeze the middle class is feeling, the opportunity gap, and I'm hopeful that this president can come forward and finally sit down and work with us to effect some results.
Before I let you go, it's Super Bowl Sunday. Russell Wilson and you attended the same high school in Richmond, Virginia, Collegiate High School. What's your pick? And who are you rooting for?
All Seahawks. No question, I think, outside of Seattle, Richmond, Virginia has the largest fan base for Seahawks in any one town in the country. Not only Russell Wilson, but Michael Robinson is from Richmond. He went to Verona High School. We're looking for a good game and a big win.
Final score?
Oh, don't even go there with me. So.
All right. Majority Leader Eric Cantor, thank you so very much, and we'll be back.